Okay, let's get started. We're here for learning how to craft a great conference session proposal. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our webinar to help you craft winning proposals for ADRP 2024 conference breakout sessions. I'm April Marsazewski from Oklahoma City University, and I'll be leading our webinar today with help from content committee members Amanda Halbert, Gina Galuppi, and Pam Simmons, along with frequent presenter Jeff Mueller. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. Feel free to use Zoom's raise your hand feature to ask your question out loud or add your questions to the chat. We're excited to share insights and best practices as you write submissions for the request for proposals. The best experts we have in our industry are you, our members. Every shop has strengths and challenges, and sometimes the benefit of hearing from others is not feeling alone. It's also a great way to learn from similarly resourced people who have solved a problem or built a process that would serve your office. We often know our everyday struggles. They're all over the ADRP message boards. But we'd love to encourage you to sit back and think about what you're doing really well. You may not think of yourself as an expert, especially if this would be your first time presenting, but you can share what you know, and that's powerful. We look forward to your insights, your creativity, and the discussion you can generate. Today we will cover this year's conference theme and discovery tracks, how to complete the RFP process, what makes a great RFP, tips for ensuring a polished and professional submission, and winning examples. We'll wrap up with a Q&A. This year's theme is To Be a Kid Again, 20 Years of Looking Up. We have 5 conference discovery areas this year, so think about which one or two areas your topic fits best into. Topics include make new friends but keep the old. Think leadership transitions, building new teams, management, etc. Getting into good trouble. Think rethinking purpose, strategic planning, macro or systems work. Coloring outside the lines. Think surprise and delight, new technology, micro or tactics work. Connecting at story time. Think donor communications, career development, inclusive marketing, etc. The golden rule. Think special events, naming opportunities, ethics, affinity groups, stewardship activities, and donor surveys. We've worked to make the online request for proposal streamlined and easy. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to brainstorm a creative, helpful session to share with your colleagues. This can be an excellent opportunity to showcase your skills, strengths, and capabilities. What you're great at is what someone else struggles with. So think through all the ways you're a superhero. Do you have any ingenious tricks? Have you rethought a system that makes life better internally or for donors? Did you mastermind a project with a creative or unusual approach to great effect? Presenting can also be a feather in your cap, assigned to colleagues across your organization and the industry that you're a leader in your field. Types of sessions include lecture or slide presentations, guided discussions, group exercises, workshops, panels, or a combination of these. We ask you to provide learning objectives, keywords, and a marketing message for your presentation. We also need to know your session's target audience, target shop size, and target audience expertise level. The deadline for conference breakout submissions is Monday, March 18th. Okay, what makes a great RFP? Start by reading the submission criteria carefully. That's what the content committee will use to choose the winning sessions. How can you make your session topic and format unique? We want to keep ADRP at the forefront of the industry and the conference relevant to the most pressing issues. Be inspired by this year's theme, To Be a Kid Again. Make your idea creative and fun, and get your audience involved. Brainstorm within the conference discovery areas. Choose one or two that might be a good fit. Every breakout session will ultimately fit into one of the conference discovery areas. Consider asking colleagues to help you identify your hidden strengths that might be great presentation topics or brainstorm together about what topics and resources are needed now in donor relations. What trends do you see emerging in donor relations? Think cutting edge. We're lifting people up and stretching ourselves to grow. Here are some additional tips available in greater depth at a link on the submission webpage that Amanda is sharing in the chat. These will help make your submission sing. Keep your topic as widely applicable as possible. Remember, ADRP encompasses all types of organizations, people, and career stages. Or make your topic meaningfully specific. Target a particular industry, shop size, career level, discipline, or project type in depth. Just make sure it's broad and fresh enough to attract an audience. Take a unique angle to a general topic. What twist can you put on a subject? Ensure your session is suited to be a live presentation rather than a webinar. The best presentations offer real-time, participatory, or interactive elements. Pick a topic that is new and timely. Check the ADRP website for monthly webinar topics and session titles from previous conferences. Attendees want new content, topics, and ideas. Make the proposal about your audience, not about you. What problem are you trying to solve? What will your audience walk away with? Use a variety of presenters. With a panel, compare and contrast. Here's how we did it, here's how they did it. Make sure the group has a lively rapport and addresses compelling questions. For vendor presenters, include a practitioner as your presentation partner to follow ADRP's policy. The presentation should avoid sales pitches for products and services. Be proactive. Email office@adrp.net with any questions or concerns. We're here to help. We'll drop the What Makes a Great RFP link in the chat, and it's already there. Okay, now we're here at how to write a compelling session description. This is often the first thing evaluators read, setting the tone for the entire proposal. Think concise, impactful, and persuasive. Your session description will also be used on the conference app, so this is what will convince people to attend your session. Think about your audience and write for them. What do they need? What topics will come as a breath of fresh air or an intriguing solution to a nagging problem? Share how they'll benefit. Be fun and creative, and play into the Be a Kid Again theme. Cross your T's and dot your I's. Make sure your copy is accurate and grammatically correct. Read it out loud to see if your wording trips you up. Let it rest for a day or two so you can edit it with fresh eyes. New this year, we ask if presenters want to create short video intros about their topics to share on social media. The videos should be no more than 2 minutes in length. This is informal and not required. Those who say yes won't get a leg up in the selection process, but it will be a fun way to generate excitement for the conference and for your session. You can develop an outstanding presentation proposal by following best practices and paying attention to the details. Remember, the deadline is March 18th, and you will be notified whether your presentation has been selected by the end of April. One presenter per session will receive a discounted rate for the conference. We're dropping the link for submissions. Again, that's already in the chat. As a reminder, that link includes more detailed information about what makes a great RFP. Here's a look at that webpage that we hope you all check out. Now we're inviting Jeff Moeller of Crossroads Insights LLC to speak about the many great proposals he has submitted over the years and how he made his RFPs shine. Jeff, take it away.
Thanks, April. And I think it was appropriate that everything's due by the end of April. So sorry, I couldn't resist. So, actually, I think what you just went through had all of the key points, right? In this, I know the way, I've done, I don't know how many, how many proposals and how many presentations for ADRP at this point. But the way for what it's worth, the way I approach these things is I think about a couple things. One, coming at the topic. Like last year, I did this one, Chatbot Got Your Tongue, the promises and perils of ChatGPT and other AI mysteries. So I came to the topic because actually about this time last year, ChatGPT was still brand new. It had launched the previous November. But it was everywhere. It was in all the media. Everybody's talking about it, and I recognized, and I had become fascinated by it and started diving in and realized this was something that would be of value to the broader, ADRP community. So that's one way to think about this. Like, what's going to be a value to everyone? And the thing is, we all have something of value that we can offer. Um, but then previous years, I think the year before, I did actually two presentations, one on collaboration, another one on career planning. The career planning one actually was brought to me by one of my colleagues that I did that with. The other thing here is this isn't all on you. This is a group enterprise. ADRP is all about, sort of the power of, the whole of the community. And so reach out to, your colleagues, whether they're in your institution or even better, if you're across institutions, and start thinking about, what are the themes that are bubbling up and what are the things that you're recognizing, others are going to want to hear about, and what can each of you bring to this conversation too, because it's interesting as you start to look at things across, you know, institutions, but also across sectors sometimes. Like if we get somebody from healthcare and somebody from general nonprofit community and somebody from higher ed, and each one brings something unique to the conversation. So, just think about all of those things. And then the other thing I think about when I get to specifically building all of this is I kind of start with what are the outcomes that we want to achieve with this, and it's always think in threes. Threes is a great number. If you've ever done any sort of either comms or marketing training, rule of threes. It's and I start with here's the three outcomes that we're driving towards, and then I kind of work back and think about how can we express this in a way that's going to be fun too. How, because then it's all about how do we make this seem like something that somebody's going to want to come to and be a part of, and play with words. This clearly last year's title was a play on a popular phrase. There's all sorts of ways. This is a very creative community, so sort of embrace. And the thing is, remember, edit second. Just brainstorm first, let all the ideas fly, get it down, and then you can edit yourself. And I guess with that, I mean, I could probably yap on forever, but you don't need me to. So I'll turn it back over to April.
Thank you, Jeff. That's great. Now we'll open the floor for questions. Jeff Mueller is here, of course. And we also have Content Committee Co-Chair Amanda Halbert and Committee Member Gina Galuppi, who have each presented at the International Conference. Pam Simmons will be monitoring the chat. You can post questions there, or you can just raise your hand in using Zoom's raise your hand feature, and you can ask your questions directly.
I don't see any questions yet, but you mentioned something. I'll ask a question. You mentioned that vendors should have a participant, and I'm wondering what give me an example of a vendor and a participant that would join together and make it more credible.
I have a great example. Mythos is the conference's premier partner, and last year they presented with Sarah Moyes, who is a user of Mythos. So that's one example. Does anyone else have others?
Yeah, that's a perfect example, April. This is Gina. That's a perfect example. I also believe the year before, if I'm not mistaken, they presented with Rochester as well. So it was a great example, and I heard really good things about both of those sessions. And it sparked a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughtful conversation around how to utilize sort of these digital applications to do endowment reporting. So I think that's a prime example of one.
We do have another question from Monica Tang. She asks, will there be a way to use an audience engagement tool during a session? She's thinking of something like Slido.
I can at least start and answer this, and it might be more of a brief answer, and I'll follow up. From my understanding, I don't believe ADRP has a resource, and if a presenter wishes to create an engagement tool, it's kind of on their responsibility on their end to facilitate that. I remember, just my personal example, last year we used a word cloud, and we found like a third-party provider to help create a live interactive word cloud. That said, I can bring that back to the ADRP office and see if there's anything that they may be considering that could be a resource to the community at large who's presenting. And then Monica, I can follow up with you directly.
I think last year they used Mento, which is an engagement tool. Did they not, in one of the sessions? We were rating, doing a rating scale. So I guess those kind of tools are possible. I have another question, although it's not, there isn't one in the chat box yet. And that is, you say that there's no promotion or sales pitch to the participants. What if somebody has written a book that's a great resource for donor relations professionals? Can they talk about that book or workbook or tool? Anybody? Amanda or Gina?
I think it goes back to Pam. I think it would go back to like partnering with somebody at another organization who's utilized those concepts or what they've developed. I think it would go along with like sort of partnering with a sponsor. Does that make sense?
I'm sort of thinking, what if April wrote this great book, which I know she can do? She's doing a session and she wants to have her books available, but she's not selling them. She's just saying that this is a great resource that's come from my experience in ADRP. Can she do that?
I believe we've done it a couple times in the past, but we can also double check to make sure it's approved by the office and the organization. But yes, I know that we've done it for a couple like keynote presenters in the past.
Great. Well,
yeah,
thanks.
I was going to pop into that. It was 2 years ago, We Are for Good, who was one of the keynotes. They then did one of the workshops in the morning. That was a fantastic session. And of course, they have sort of their paid Pro Tools, but what they did is they gave everybody who attended that session access, like free access to the tools. And so everybody walked away with like a kit of samples and templates and things that they could use. And so that way it was not a sales pitch. It was just part of that package that had been designed for them.
Kimberly, did you want to say anything? I saw that you raised your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Pam, and thank you all. This has been such a great session and really appreciate all the time and investment that you put into orchestrating this. I was just going to add, and really just piggybacking on what Marian said, I think the idea here is that we don't want it to be a sales pitch. And so if you're bringing insights and learnings to the conversation that is valuable to the ADRP community, I think the content committee will look at that and evaluate your proposal, right? But if you're just trying to sell your book, that's a different conversation. So we just really want it to be, we want the attendees to walk away really feeling like they learned something rather than they were trying to be sold something. And I think you've seen that evolution in the ADRP conferences over time, where in the past there was just a vendor that you would go to those sessions, and that's why and you would just feel like you were in a sales pitch the entire time, and that's what we're just trying to avoid.
Right, there was another question, and Amanda, I think you answered it, but I wonder, is it something that can be shared with the group?
Yeah, sorry, I had responded. I think everyone can see the Q&A. If you can't, please let us know. But the question was, if a presentation is not accepted, but there are a few similar submissions, does the ADRP office connect those presenters? And if space allows, offer them an opportunity to co-present on the topic? So the answer to that is absolutely yes. That's a part of our review process that we'll actually try to even proactively identify. We have 4 individuals that are presenting on a very similar subject. Maybe one is from a medical nonprofit, maybe one is from environmental, maybe one is from higher ed. And is there a way that this group could maybe come together and create a shared experience that's applicable to our audience at large? So I'd say that's something we look at not only for those submissions that we might say maybe not this year, but even before that, as part of our initial review, we might come back and ask if this group is interested in partnering together on one session.
Great. I don't see any other questions, but I think it's important for people to know that they can always write in the email. I think it's in the chat, your question, and I know somebody will get back to you very quickly. April?
Any more questions?
Well, maybe just share one more or two more thoughts real quickly. First, just to piggyback on the last question, in addition to identifying opportunities where you could partner with another presenter, if your submission is not selected, we will also share your submission with our educational team for the monthly webinars. So that's another opportunity that, taking the time to think through this presentation for the in-person international conference isn't the end of the story. There are other opportunities to present and really help grow and inform the ADRP community through the monthly webinars, which are fantastic as well. And so that will also be an option extended to you should your proposal not be accepted, but we see real value in sharing it with the ADRP community. And then the other opportunity too, one that was really kind of transformative for me and life-changing, is we do offer a mentor program. So if your presentation is selected and maybe this is your first time, or you just really want to partner with someone to help evaluate your presentation, we will make those connections for you and pair you up with a longtime ADRP member, someone who's presented in the past, and so that you can walk in to your session even more confident. And even if you decide not to formally partner or have a mentor through our offerings, certainly recommend that you share your presentation over and over again with others and get that feedback. So just wanted to also let you know that we are here to support you even after the submission, should you need some additional guidance and support.
Great, thanks, Kim. April, take it away.
Thank you so much, everyone. Do we have any last minute tips from former presenters who thought of anything that we haven't mentioned yet?
I thought of one thing, April, which is that I know there are folks out there who are wondering, should I do this? I've never presented before. Just remember that there's lots of things you've never done before and that you did in your life and that you are now, a master at. And so, everyone has that first time. And so if you've got something that you think people would find of value, don't let that be the thing that holds you back. Because when we challenge ourselves, it's our opportunity to grow. And so, take that opportunity and embrace it. And, and if you're nervous about it, also, this is another great time to bring in a partner or two. you know, because then you've got sort of that strength in numbers and you've got a support system built around you. So there's lots of ways to think about this, but I highly encourage you, you know, everyone, you know, this, once again, this is all, ADRP is all about community. And so embrace that and, you know, and be an active part of it.
You know, that's actually terrific, Jeff, because you really feed into the theme to think like a kid again, because often when you're younger, you are doing things for the first time. So that's a great advice to all of us. Thank you.
I would just very quickly just ditto what Jeff said. As someone, last year was my first year presenting, and the nerves that came along with that, especially as someone who's more introverted and doesn't always care to talk, but I can't speak highly enough to just being in that moment and how kind and supportive. I think someone had told me, no one is rooting for you to fail. Everyone wants you to succeed. And so you're sitting in a room with your peers who understand you and are wanting to learn from you and are wanting you to be successful. And just keeping that in mind too.
Actually, Amanda, that's such a great point. And that is another thing about this ADRP community is it's, you know, I've been a part of a number of different sort of, you know, communities within fundraising and communications, and this one is special. You know, this is one where it is a warm, you know, supportive community. And so if there's no safer space than here, no more supportive group.
I love that. Any other thoughts? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and thank you to the ADRP staff and volunteers for making this session possible. Have a great day, everyone.